Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be doing my Week 2 lineup review, going over some of my lineups for the Week 2 NFL slate, talking about my lineups and where I was right, where I was wrong, just see where I was wrong so that way maybe I can improve on next week, and obviously see the plays we were right on so maybe that way we can make the correct plays again for next week. I'll do my Draftkings lineups first. I make about 20 lineups on Draftkings, about 20 on FanDuel, and 10 on Yahoo. I'll quickly just go through all of them. We'll start off with DraftKings, then transition to FanDuel, then transition to Yahoo. Then at the end, I will talk about the Showdown slate, the Monday night Showdown slate between the Seahawks and the Bears. So if you are interested in that, be sure to stay tuned for that. I will quickly go over that Showdown slate once I do the lineup review. But before we do get started, guys, would really appreciate it if you would give the video a like. Leave any feedback you have down below. Did get a lot of views on my last lineup review. Definitely like to see that. Like to see that you guys are enjoying the lineup review. Let me know down in the comments how your week went. Maybe some of the plays that you missed on. Maybe some of the guys that you were heavy on that did well for you. I always like to read the comments as well. But we'll start off just talking about some of my exposures. Some of the guys that I was the heaviest on. So I believe my highest exposed player on DraftKings, I think, was Tevin Coleman at like 62%. Or no, actually, no, it was James Conner. Conner was like, I had 70% Conner. I had like 62% Tevin Coleman. And obviously, those plays weren't great. They weren't terrible either, though. Coleman was actually pretty good for his salary. 19.5 DK points at 5,300. I think that's what his price was. Obviously, you don't want just great, or you don't want just a guy to hit value when you're playing tournaments. You want the upside. You want just guys to crush. Coleman really didn't crush, which was kind of disappointing. Had a lot of exposure to him once we got the news that Devontae Freeman was out. Then James Conner, I just felt like Conner was underpriced for how much work he was going to get. Even though I didn't think he was going to repeat his performance from last week, I thought he could easily get 25 DK points. He did okay, 19.5, but definitely was not great for tournaments. Some of the quarterbacks I was heavy on, I think my highest exposed quarterback was Tyrod Taylor. I had him in like 20%. I really spread my ownership out at quarterback this week. I know I had plenty of Mahomes, which obviously really helped. I had some Big Ben as well, but definitely had a lot of Tyrod, and Tyrod was not good. As you can see here, there's 5 lineups right here that had Tyrod. I think there's more down here too. Yes, 6, 7. 7 out of my 20, I think I made 23 lineups. So like 7 out of 23 had Tyrod, which is like 33%. So I was very high on Tyrod this week. I thought that Cleveland New Orleans game could have been a shootout, and it obviously was not. Just when you miss on games like that, it's going to be a rough week, and it was not the best week for me. Just missed on a lot of good plays. Another big whiff for me was Jonah Smith. I mentioned this on Twitter. I had like 30% Jonah Smith. I had a ton of him on FanDuel as well because he was like the minimum price. Jonah Smith, he played on every single snap. He played 59 of 59 snaps. We did get that report from Levitan, but he only got 1 target, 0 fantasy points. I think Blaine Gabbert only threw the ball like 20 times. I thought when they announced Blaine Gabbert as a starter that maybe Smith could have got some more targets since they probably didn't want Gabbert throwing the ball downfield. They were going to look for him some just like quick targets, which obviously the tight end could be, what you look for when you have a backup quarterback. You could look the tight end's way a lot, but that really wasn't the case. They just really didn't throw the ball at all with Blaine Gabbert. They ran the ball a ton, just kind of ate the clock and tried to let their defense win the game for him. So Jonnu Smith, a big bust for me this week. Just he wasn't a good value. Really disappointed. Some of the other guys that disappointed for me that I had some decent exposure to. Jarvis Landry, I had a ton of Jarvis Landry. That was a play that I felt pretty good about. He was 6K. I thought he was going to easily get 10 plus targets. Obviously, that wasn't the case. Only 11.9 DK points from Jarvis Landry. Really disappointing game from him. Let me see if I can find my highest scoring lineup. I think my highest scoring lineup was like a 160. That might be it right there. There's a 160.58, 168.74. That might be my best one, the 168. Yeah, that's my best lineup, the 168. Had Mahomes to Kelsey, which was obviously a really good stack. Brought it back with Antonio Brown, who didn't do great. That was another play that didn't really do well for me. I had a lot of Antonio Brown, and he really struggled. Coleman, Conner were kind of my 2 highest exposed running backs. Also had a ton of Kamara as well, and he was pretty disappointing. Did have some Todd Gurley, but I had more Kamara than I did Gurley, which obviously did not help. At wide receiver, Randall Cobb, thought that play I didn't think that was a great play, but I thought Cobb did have some upside. I felt like Xavier Rhodes was going to really lock down Devontae Adams, and Cobb could have seen some easy targets when when Aaron Rodgers was announced that he was going to start. I did get some exposure to Cobb because I like Cobb in this spot. That really did not work out. Only 7 DK points. Quincy Enunwa, I think he's going to be a guy we continue to target throughout the year. Sam Darnold just looks his way a ton. I think Enunwa got 10 plus targets again on Sunday. Really good play. TJ Yeldon, really disappointed. I had like 20 or 30% TJ Yeldon. Once we got the news that Leonard Fournette was out and Yeldon was a really big disappointment. And then at defense, I kind of really spread my ownership around at defense this week. I kind of just played with whatever defense fit. Like in this lineup, I played the Buccaneers defense because they were only 2,200 at home, 7 DK points. That's fine. You don't really. Defense is usually a never position where you get killed by it. Like as you can see here, just kind of really spread my ownership in defense. Got some Buccaneers. Got some Buccaneers, Patriots, Redskins, Titans. Just really played whatever defense fit in my lineup. But really rough week on DraftKings. Just didn't hit on a lot of good plays. It was kind of the same on all sites. I stuck to like a core of like Coleman, Kamara. I think I had a lot of James Conner. That didn't work out. It's wide receiver. I had a lot of Landry, and that didn't work out. So just when your core plays, the guys you're the highest on, you have the most exposure to, when they don't do well, it's probably going to be a rough week. And that's kind of how it was for me. Pretty rough week, but definitely going to look to get back on things week 3. So that's DraftKings. Moving on to FanDuel. Looking at some of my FanDuel lineups, it was a pretty terrible week here as well. This was my high-scoring FanDuel lineup, a 157, and it had the Mahomes to Kelsey stack. Brought it back with Antonio Brown, sort of the similar thing on DraftKings. I had a similar lineup to this on DraftKings. Had Coleman and Conner at running back. Todd Gurley. Did have a lot of exposure to Gurley on FanDuel because he was a little bit cheaper than Kamara. In a lot of lineups, I was able to play Kamara and Gurley just because FanDuel's pricing is pretty soft. You can pretty easily fit in at least 2 or 3 studs on FanDuel every week. I was able to play Gurley in this lineup, and he did really well. Dante Pettis was a guy I got on Sunday morning. I feel like once Goodwin was out, we could have saw Pettis get some more targets. He only got 1 catch for 35 yards, I think. He did see like 2 or 3 targets. He played on a lot of snaps, just didn't get the targets. Pierre Garçon was another guy that I was pretty high on. I thought Jimmy G could have really lit up that Lions offense, and I guess they kind of did. They scored 30 points, but the guys that I played weren't really that good. Pettis, Garçon, I had some Garoppolo. He wasn't great. I know the running back for the 49ers put up a really big game, which I did not have exposure to. Pretty disappointing there. But yeah, FanDuel lineups were pretty gross. Just not a lot of good scores. Just really bad lineups. I'll go through them real quickly. I think I played 5 lineups in the bomb, and I think I only cashed 1. So it was a pretty terrible week on FanDuel. Just missed on a lot of plays. Had a lot of Connor. Pretty similar to DraftKings. A lot of Connor, a lot of Kamara. AB, really disappointed. More Pettis. Kittle, tight end I had a lot of exposure to. Only 3.2 FanDuel points from him. So rough week on FanDuel as well. Let's go through some of my last few lineups. Like here I had a Jimmy G to Garçon, Kittle. Just thought that stack would really work out. Obviously did not. Adrian Peterson. I didn't love Adrian Peterson this week, but I did want some exposure. I thought the workload was going to be there against a bad Colts team. And it really wasn't. Only 6.5 FanDuel points. Dalvin Cook I just felt like was a little underpriced, and he kind of fit this lineup. And he obviously pretty disappointing outing from him. Disappointed as well. AB, again, I had a lot of exposure to him. Landry had a lot of exposure. More Gurley as well. But yeah, that's really it for my FanDuel bomb lineups. Now if we want to look at the snap, this is like the little 20 max $3 tournament. I always usually max enter this tournament, and I got crushed in this thing. I think I only cashed 1 lineup out of 20, which was absolutely terrible. When you stick to a tight core like I do, and you play a lot of the same guys across all your lineups, obviously if those guys disappoint, it's going to be a rough week. If those guys hit, then obviously it's going to be a really, really good week. It's kind of a risky thing to do, to play a lot of the same guy or have as much exposure to some guys as you do, but it's something I like to do. I just like to stick to the guys I think that were the best plays, and that's kind of how I got a lot of exposure to Coleman, Landry. Just obviously when those guys disappoint, it's going to be a disappointing week. But looking at some of my bomb lineups, I think in these 20 lineups I had Tyrod, might have been my most exposed quarterback again. I know I had some Mahomes as well, had some Big Ben. But Tyrod was kind of the quarterback I rode with this week. Did not work out. Really bad game from him. Jonah Smith was another guy, or was a guy that I played on FanDuel as well because he was 4,200. Once I saw the ownership on Jonah Smith, I saw that he was 3.9% owned. I did get a little worried. I thought Smith would be really popular this week, and I was really wrong. I think we're going to see Smith's role increase as the week goes on, but for week one, I probably should have got off of him, obviously, especially with Gabbard at quarterback. Smith, I think I played in 20 or 30% of my FanDuel lineups. 0 points from him. You're not going to cash when you get a 0 from, or when 20% of your lineups have a 0 in them. So just a bad week in general, bad week on FanDuel. On Yahoo, pretty similar thing. I know their tournament, their big 200K tournament, I think the cash line was 130. I had so many teams that were right at the edge of cashing. I don't play tournaments to min cash. I play tournaments hopefully to win first place, but definitely is nice to return profit sometimes, and I kind of would have returned profit this week on Yahoo if some of these lineups cash. I think the cash line was 128, had a 126, 125, just a lot of teams landed right near the cash line. This was my best team on Yahoo. Had Mahomes by himself, no stack with Mahomes. Did bring it back with Connor on the other side. Had Coleman because I loved him this week. Funches, another receiver I liked. Landry. Just you can see the similar plays. I play a lot of the same guys, or across all my lineups, I'll play a lot of the same guys. Just stick to the same core. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Thomas, a big thing in this lineup, which made it do so well, is I played Thomas instead of Antonio Brown. Had Jonah Smith in this lineup, 0 points. Somehow scored 150, getting a 0 from Smith. Todd Gurley, big thing in this lineup was I played Gurley over Kamara. That really worked out. And Denver Broncos defense was just kind of a defense that fit. So yeah, it was kind of the similar thing across all sites. Just I missed on a lot of the plays, or a lot of the plays I was on I missed. Coleman, Connor, Landry, Smith, those are the guys I had the most exposure to, and all of them pretty much disappointed. So it's going to be a disappointing week when those things happen. But let's go ahead and look at the Showdown slate. I'm going to close all these tabs real quick. If you want to skim through these Yahoo lineups, you can. But now we're going to focus on the Showdown slate. Look at this game between the Seahawks and the Bears. Talk about some of my plays. Already plugged 3 guys in that I really like on this night game. Like Jordan Howard, Marshall, and Parkey. We'll talk about these 3 guys. So Jordan Howard, I just feel like it's one of the better plays on the Showdown slate. He's going to get a ton of work for the Bears. I know week 1 he got 20 touches. Got 15 rushing attempts against the Packers. Got 5 catches as well. 20 touches for Howard in week 1. We're going to see him be another workhorse back. Just get all the carries, get some passing game volume as well. And this is not the same Seahawks defense that it used to be in the past. Definitely a defense you can pick on. So I like Howard here. I really like Brandon Marshall. He's probably going to be really, really popular on this Showdown slate, but he's a good play here. We know Doug Baldwin is going to be out and is probably going to miss multiple games. So Brandon Marshall, going to see an increased role, going to see some more targets. Same should go for Tyler Lockett if you want to play Tyler Lockett. But Brandon Marshall is a little bit cheaper, so I do like him at 7,400. You could also look to Will Dissly, I think that's his name. Yeah, Will Dissly. He didn't get a ton of targets week 1. Did see 5 targets, 3 catches for 105 yards and a touchdown. I think that was a little bit of an outlier. I don't think we're going to continue to see Will Dissly put up 20 DraftKings points. But with Doug Baldwin out, those targets are going to have to go somewhere. Could see the tight end pick up a few targets, and he's very cheap. He's just 4,800. He could be probably one of the better values on the slate. I think defense you can always look to on DraftKings. The Showdown, you can play the Bears defense here. I think the Seahawks are going to be pretty bad this year, so definitely want to pick all them. The Bears have a good defense. They're at home. They're kind of expensive at 4K, but if you need value, they're definitely there. Really, the thing we want to take advantage of on the Showdown slate is the Seahawks and how thin they are at wide receiver. Russell Wilson's going to have to throw the ball to somebody, so Lockett, Brandon Marshall, Dissly maybe even Carson could see some increased volume in the passing game. I know they have another pass-catching back. I think it's CJ Procise. He could possibly see some increased work in the passing game, but I don't know if he's a guy I'd really go heavy on unless you're playing a lot of lineups in the big tournament. The main core I'm probably going to stick to in the Showdown slate is definitely Howard, Marshall, probably Lockett. I'll have plenty of Russell Wilson as well. Definitely like the kickers just as guys you can use to save salary, especially if you're playing cash. You could always look to the kickers. You can always look to the defense. Kickers can easily get you double-digit points, which is great at 3,600. So that's kind of why I rolled with Parkey. Really no explanation. I mean, the Bears, their offense, probably not going to score a ton of touchdowns, so Parkey's going to have plenty of opportunities to kick field goals and can easily return value at just 3,600. So that's sort of my quick analysis on the Showdown slate. Russell Wilson, if you can fit him in, great play. I think he's going to just have to throw the ball a ton. And Russell Wilson, we know for fantasy, the guy just has a lot of upside. He's a quarterback that can run the ball, so gives you added upside there. I'd rather play him over Trubisky. Trubisky is cheaper, but I think Russell Wilson, if I can find the salary, I just play him. He's got more upside. Definitely like the receivers for the Seahawks. Lockett, Marshall, you could look to. If you need cheap value, you got Disley down there. You got the kickers you could play. You got the defenses you could play. Just sort of play around with roster construction. Figure out what works for you. In the captain spot for this Showdown slate, I'd probably either play Wilson, Howard, or Brandon Marshall. Probably Howard would be my favorite play at captain. Wilson's really expensive, so if you play him at captain, you're going to have to really punt the other positions. I don't know what Howard's price is for captain. He's only 15K, so he's 3K cheaper than Wilson. Definitely you could look to play Howard and captain. I think that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, guys, I think that's it for the Showdown slate. I think that's it for the Week 2 lineup review. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. If you have any feedback, let me know down in the comments. Just let me know how the slate went for you guys. We always like to discuss the slate with you guys, so feel free to leave any comments down below. Would appreciate it. As always, if you have not subscribed, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe down below. Also would really appreciate that, guys. You can get these videos every day, every week, whatever, if you do subscribe. Make sure you turn on notifications as well. There's a little bell icon that's right next to the subscribe button. If you click that bell, you will get notified every time I upload. So if you want to do that, feel free to do that. I would appreciate it. But yeah, guys, I think that's it. Good luck on the Showdown slate. My Week 3 DraftKings picks video should be out tomorrow on Tuesday. Make sure you check that out. Good luck tonight, guys. Peace.